Hearthstone is a digital collectible card game developed and released by Blizzard Entertainment in 2014, where you build decks from cards you collect through packs and other sources and battle against another player for matchmaking rating, or MMR for short. MMR is a hidden value that reflects a player's skill level. When you reach Legend, you receive a number that represents your relative position in the leaderboard, which is sorted by how much MMR each player has. Over the years, many free-to-play players have voiced frustrations about not being able to compete versus the latest meta decks that cost a lot of resources to craft. When new expansions drop, the older cards would either get power crept or be rotated out of the standard cycle. This is done for multiple reasons: to keep the meta feeling fresh and avoid stagnating, and to entice players to buy the latest expansion packs. Despite all this, Hearthstone has managed to retain a solid player base and consistently releases up to 3 expansions every year. So I decided to try it myself to see if those issues still hold true in 2025. I made a brand new account and managed to hit Legend in 2 weeks without making any in-app purchases. To find the best deck I can craft for the least dust, I used a site called HS Guru. After scrolling through a couple decks with good win rates that use legendaries I didn't own, I came across Menagerie DK. It was the cheapest deck I could craft since I had already unpacked some of the cards from free packs, including the only legendary. And more importantly, it had a really good win rate at ranks Diamond 4 to 1, which is the cutoff for Legend. Alright folks, the deck is Rainbow Menagerie DK. The goal of the deck is to flood the board with minions, buff them with Menagerie Jug, generate corpses to enable your corpsicles and foam render. It also has good Death Rattle synergies with Buccaneer and Dreadhound Handler or Eliza, Ghoul's Knight to potentially deal up to 15 damage for 4 mana. I only included a couple matches from the lower ranks due to players making too many mistakes or the games just not being interesting enough to watch. However, I decided to include the first win because it was a good representation of how this deck is supposed to function. In the early stages, I make sure to clear the rogue's combo minions as she plays them, and try to develop my own board. This way, if I top deck Jug, I can buff the board and deal a lot of damage. The rogue of course clears the board, so I end up having to repeat the process. I clear the board by trading my minions and using my location. And flood the board once again. Finally, the rogue is unable to clear my board fully, so I can just get lethal with Jug. Game 2 is versus a Paladin. Paladin is very strong in the meta. They're usually board centric and scale extremely well into the late game. And as an aggro deck that falls off hard late game, you want to try and close out the game as early as possible. Buccaneer into Handler is a pretty good combo to clear out smaller creatures like this. And if for some reason the Buccaneer manages to survive, things get out of hand pretty quickly. They usually don't have many board removals, so I can buff this board with Jug and deal a lot of damage. I already have lethal next turn, and they just leave. In game 3, we go against a Hunter. Hunter is a pretty scary matchup because of their King Plush OTK from hand. It takes them some time to scale their King Plush by using their imbued hero power multiple times, so we have enough time to smoke them out before their OTK is ready. Similar to Paladin, they also don't have many removal spells, so you should be able to build a decent board without them contesting too much.
I am watching closely.
Rengari Scout is a pretty scary card, so I clear it and play Ghoul's Knight. I can easily clear this taunt with Buccaneer and my hero power into Handler and deal 4 damage face. This way, I also fill the board with multiple minions to potentially buff them with Jug the next turn. At this point, the Hunter is 1 turn away from 40k'ing me, but it's already too late. Even if the Hunter manages to clear my whole board here, we can still get lethal with Foam Render and Popsicle. This brings us to game 4. I included this game to show you a crazy high roll from Creature of Madness. The game plan versus Paladin stays the same as before, beat them before they outscale you. Toy Snatching Geist with Waking Terror is incredibly powerful because you get to discount the Discover by 5, which is very strong. Let's see what we get, and we high roll again. Deathbringer has incredible synergy with Buccaneer, and the rest of this game is absolute cinema. The Paladin has no idea what's coming for him. It's turn 4 and I play Buccaneer, Harbinger of Winter, and my second Deathbringer. The Paladin still has some hope left and tries to fight back. I jug the board, play a Deathbringer, and push face with a lot of damage. I could have traded a minion to play 2 Deathbringers, but I didn't want to lose too much HP and we already have lethal set up. Diamond 5 achieved. Moving on to the Priest matchup. During this time, Priest plays a nasty OTK as well. It takes him about the same amount of time to scale as the Hunter OTK, so we still have a chance to beat them. But unlike Hunter, Priest runs some decent removal spells that are pretty effective versus my board-centric deck. If they always have these in hand, you can still try to win with your locations, spells, and Foam Render, but your minions are a lot less effective versus them. That being said, if they don't draw them on time, you can still build a very powerful board. It doesn't matter that I'm not fully utilizing my Jug here, since the Priest is already very low on HP. They try to clear the board now, but they're a couple turns too late. I can get lethal with my location and Ghoul's Knight. Initially, I wasn't planning on including this match, but the ending was funny, so I decided why not. It's game 6 and we're facing Starship DK, which is sort of a control deck with a big Starship payoff. As with most decks you face playing this, you have no chance at beating them in the late game, so you have to try and aggro them out. I do an exceptional job at doing this, which puts them in a very awkward spot. I then proceed to mind control my opponent into conceding, placing us in Diamond 3. Game 7 is a mirror match. This is one of the few matchups you can play for and have a reasonable chance at winning in the late game. That being said, early board presence is still very important. Observer of Mysteries is pretty annoying here, but I still risk it because the payoff is too good. Thankfully, I didn't get punished too hard and I managed to take control of the board. They spent their entire turn clearing my board, which lets me set up for a potential Jug turn. You can discover Frostbitten Freebooter with Creature of Madness, and if you get the Dark Gift to summon a 2/2 copy of it, you can combo this with Buccaneer for 2 Frostbitten Freebooters with Reborn, which is a really cool combo, and I recently beat a rogue in Legend with that. Here's another cool discover from Creature of Madness. Illusionist with Talents. It's also a demon, which means you can buff it with Jug. It's too risky to use my location here since it might hit the freebooter, so I just pass. My opponent is forced to trade here since my board is too threatening, but they decide to go face, which is a big mistake. Stuffy helps me clear most of their board, so I pick that and use Corpsicle to give it Reborn. Make sure to kill the freebooter last so that I can get all my hits in before they freeze my minions. Another interesting thing to note here is them attacking the wrong Illusionist, because I mind gamed them by proccing the Divine Shield of the fake Illusionist in the previous turn. I emote and play Baron, hoping to draw Jug, but I don't, so I just use all my mana and flood the board. They do a pretty decent job at clearing my board, but we can still get them. Pause here to see if you can spot lethal. If you said Corpsicle your own Eliza and Hero Power, you are correct. After going against a couple more Paladins and Death Knights, I got to Diamond 1, and we faced another mirror match. As always, early board presence goes a long way, and both me and my opponent try our best to fight for the board. They managed to go wide, so I'm forced to use my Ghoul's Knight to try and pin the board. I pick Horn of Winter here because I'm very likely to draw another 3 or 4 cost card next turn. This led me to a pivotal moment in this game where I played double Horizon's Edge on turn 6. This translates to 30 damage on demand as long as I have minions to sacrifice. I make sure to clear as much of their board as possible so that the cannons can find face. Editing this video took so much time, so please smash like. They play Observer of Mysteries, but at this point I am very far ahead, so I don't really care about this. I build my load and set up lethal next turn. Pretty cool lethal where I buff the ghoul from my hero power, putting us 2 wins from Legend. Oh hi there, welcome to game 9. At this point, I was getting pretty tired of facing Paladins and DKs the whole time. Thankfully, this Paladin friend decided to gift us a free win. It's game 10. If we win this, we get Legend. The pressure is on. As always, in this matchup, whoever has board presence controls the game, so I slap a Mosquito on the board. But my opponent instantly uses coin to clear it. I return the favor by clearing their board as well. They play a pretty weak turn 2 and follows it up with Dirty Rat on turn 3, which is more beneficial for us than it is for them. This leads me to start snowballing. They also float a mana on turn 3 and turn 4, and my Buccaneer manages to survive. This lets me build a very powerful board and my opponent is already struggling. I even managed to set up lethal for next turn. They tried to discover an out with Zephyrs, but they didn't seem to get it, and were able to close out the game by pushing phase and using Corpsicle. With that, we get Legend. In conclusion, you can absolutely reach Legend as a brand new player by crafting a deck based on the cards you open and spending some time grinding the ranks. That's the end of this video, and I do plan to keep making content, so if you enjoyed watching, be sure to subscribe.